Welcome back, everyone. Mr. Talbot here for you. We're going to start with topic 2.2. Talking about one of the most famous groups in history, and that's going to be the Mongols, of people like Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan, who we see off to the left-hand side. And as we kind of start these videos, we're going to start kind of looking at the learning objectives. And again, you can for sure pause the video, and I'll move my head so you all can see it. But there are some key things to focus on as we look at these different things. Is going to be that the Mongol Empire is going to spread all across Eurasia. It's going to become a massive, massive empire. And that's going to cause some states to end. It's going to lead to the kind of new states that are run by the Mongols. We're going to see the Mongols help connect people through trade, through communication. And because the empire is so big, that's trade and communication over big, long distances. Then we're going to look at kind of how this contact caused by the Mongols led to technology and culture transferring over these long, long distances. So again, if you need to kind of pause the video, read through these, this gives you kind of a good idea maybe how you want to organize your notes, key things and concepts to be trying to identify. So we think about what we know about the Mongols. Again, they're pretty famous. You hear kind of stereotypes about them being kind of this uneducated, uncivilized people. They would kind of spread fear and destruction across Eurasia, and they certainly do that. The famous cities of Babylon in what is today Iraq, and we remember that we had the House of Wisdom in places like Baghdad. All of these places are going to be influenced and kind of attacked by the Mongols, and pretty much everyone that comes to the Mongol contact pretty much gets wiped out, or they could surrender, and we'll see some of the examples of that along the way. So historians have a lot of debate. There's kind of pro-Mongol historians and kind of some that really don't like the Mongols. And there's some challenges in researching them. But our estimates are they probably killed about 5% of the global population in their conquest. And that's going to land them anywhere in a huge range of 12 million people to 40 million people. Now, however you slice it, that's a lot of people that are going to die because of what the Mongols do. This all happens in only about a century. In addition to the people that die, the Mongols displace and cause more people to move than any other group in history. And that includes the genocide and things that we see in the 20th century. So massive, massive levels of destruction, massive levels of fear. And your experience is going to vary. But generally speaking, if you could avoid the Mongols, you probably were going to be happier, certainly in the short term. We're going to see some of the long-term consequences of the Mongols as we go forward here. Before we talk specifically about the Mongols, we kind of want to think a little bit about this term we're going to call pastoral people. So when you see the word pastoral, hopefully you pick up on the term like pasture lands, things that horses and animals are going to eat. So we see them across the world. And these pastoral people, usually we don't see big centralized states. They're moving around. They're nomadic, so they're not building big architecture. They're not setting up formalized governments and things. So those things we think of as like civilization, we don't tend to see. It's usually much smaller, family-based clans and stuff. And most of the time, they don't leave a big impact on history. The Mongols we'll see are going to be an exception, and the Arabs as we get closer to present day also going to leave their mark. But otherwise, pastoral, nomadic people not making as big an impact. Because as we see in Mongolian and other pastoral societies, because it's more family-based, women are going to have a lot more close to equal rights in the relationship. They're going to be very involved in the economy, manufacturing things on that small scale family level, and also they're going to serve as political advisors, sometimes even the political leaders of some of these clans. And the different clans are going to fight each other a lot. It's kind of a repeating cycle. And because of this, there ends up being a lot of bad blood. It's hard for you to have a big unity among the pastoral peoples. Of course, that's all going to be changed temporarily with the Mongols. So we see nomadic people generally because they're not based around agriculture. They're more based around the herding of animals. We see them being places where agriculture is harder. So if we kind of look at our map of, a little bit of Africa and Asia, in these drier areas, Mongolia being the heartlands of the Mongols, Saudi Arabia being where the Arabs are going to be from. That tends to be where your nomadic people and your pastoral societies develop. And again, they're not that sedentary population that we're going to see in other parts of the world. The situation here is, though, that your nomadic peoples, these pastoral peoples, they still aren't entirely self-sufficient, at least not, they don't get all the things that they want to have from their society. So they are going to instead also come into contact with a more civilized or certainly more sedentary civilizations in places like China and elsewhere to get those other things that they want. Now, sometimes they get them just through trading, like we would see between different sedentary civilizations, but more common is going to be for them to kind of just raid and steal the things from the agricultural societies that they want. And we see, as we kind of continue on with our pastoral peoples, is it's about herding animals instead of growing your own crops. That's how they survive. So we see this quote from National Geographic: Mongols had to travel frequently to sustain them. Drought and disease could wipe out their livelihoods quickly. Some results of that is because it's way more kind of fluid with the environment and stuff, you got to move around a lot. You're not going to see big population growth. It's a pretty small population, and definitely that more nomadic, that more traveling around. Being nomadic, and since the horse is from Central Asia originally, the Mongols, we will see, will become incredibly skilled horsemen. The Arabs are going to be incredibly skilled in riding camels because those are kind of things that work really well in their environments. The Mongols, we will see, are excellent at taking the technology of other people and applying it to their life. So we see the stirrup, which is kind of the thing your foot goes into on a horse. It's a very basic kind of technology, but most people didn't have it for a long time. And once you have it, you're going to be a lot better at riding your horse. You're also going to be a lot more stable on it, which is going to let you do a lot of other things. More efficient in hunting. You can start using a bow and arrow from it. And that mounted archery and the being so mobile on horseback is going to really allow the Mongols to kind of be, you know, this breathtaking military power, despite not being huge in numbers. So we're going to kind of close out with this part of the Mongols, is talking about the guy that kind of gets the Mongols together. And I went a little Game of Thronesy here because I think of this character with a quote here, Khaleesi. I think of her as like the Game of Thrones Genghis Khan, where she says, "I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel." So this guy is he's named Temujin. Now you probably know him as Genghis Khan, which you'll see spelled a couple different ways, kind of this Genghis and this Chinggis. Temujin, all talking about the same person. When he's born into this era of pastoral peoples where they're fighting and killing the heck out of each other. There's bad blood. And really, because the Mongol clans are doing this, no one really cares about the Mongols. The Chinese are like, yeah, they're just, you know, these uncivilized savages. They just kill each other. We don't need to worry about them at all. So Temujin comes along, and he's going to win some small victories. And he's going to kind of break the wheel. He was really a victim of, you know, this constant fighting. His dad is murdered. His first wife is going to be kidnapped and taken away from him right after they got married. And so he really would have some bad blood, some reasons to want to take it out on these people. The guy that was kind of his blood, or not his little brother, kind of becomes like blood brothers through a ritual. He betrays him. So all these things that would make him want to go after. Instead, Genghis Khan says, you know what? I'm just going to kind of do these things. And over time, he gets all the clans together. Now, as he gets the clans together, the only way to really keep the clans together is to keep giving them lots and lots of stuff. Well, these pastoral peoples, the way they get stuff is through raiding and through war. And now that they can't fight each other and get stuff from each other, they got to find somebody else to fight. So they're going to kind of move and expand from there. Their empire. And we're going to see it's going to expand really fast, and it's going to expand really, really far. So we'll see as he's the conqueror. According to Mongolian history, so the people that are kind of maybe a little biased towards Genghis Khan, he only ever invaded or was cruel if somebody kind of did a wrong to him or to set something right. Generally, we'll see if cities or people surrendered, they're treated fairly well. They don't have the same rights as Mongols, but they have pretty good rights. If you resisted, though, we're going to see you were in for kind of a world of hurt. A connection we can make, we learned about Pachacuti with the Inca, was pretty similar in if you surrendered, you were going to get a lot of rights, be treated fairly well. If you didn't, you're going to be pretty much wiped out and destroyed. That's what we're going to see with Genghis Khan as he attempts to break the wheel. We'll pick up with the Mongolian Empire in our next video. Don't forget to be adding to your notes.